Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 12th of September, and I'm super happy to be here. I'm actually here on the seventh day of Conscious Conversations with Reg, and we're here talking about consciousness and what does it mean, and having conscious conversations. And I'm super happy to be having my guest here with me today, Miss Sandra D. Robinson. And Sandra and I met, I would say, probably 8 years ago, right, Sandra?
Not quite that long, but it was one of my first live events. I think it might have been my very first live event. It was in Florida, right?
Was it really? Wow, maybe six years, maybe?
Possibly seven.
Seven. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And one thing I remember, it's called Charisma on Camera, which is really awesome because now I'm doing more video work and live camera work. And I remember, I didn't realize it was your first event. And I remember one of the things that I loved so much about your energy and the way you showed up, Sandra, was just how authentic you were and how genuine you presented yourself. And I continue to see that theme of your authenticity and just how you show up in life. And I've noticed, we'll talk more about I believe you moved recently from the West Coast over to Texas.
Yeah.
And look forward to hearing about that.
Yeah.
It's been what, 3 years?
3 years.
Oh, wow. And I keep acting like it was just yesterday.
Okay. Everybody thinks that because of my background that I'm just like somehow always associated with California, but that's okay.
Well, and that's a perfect lead-in. If you can share more about your background, because I think it's really impressive. And I love just the fact that I know you from the way that I met you is interesting to me because I don't know that I would have necessarily crossed paths with you if you weren't in Florida. And then now, years later, I'm like, of course I would, because everything happens for a reason. And you've been an awesome, whether you knew it or not, you've been such a great influence in my life. And I still have the Charisma on Camera video. I think by now I may have 2 or 3 copies, and they're in a spot on my bookshelf that I look over at. And I just think to myself, oh yeah, just be natural, be friendly, be who you are. And so I love your work and how it comes into your live event. So I'm looking forward to you sharing that.
Thank you. That's cool. Yeah, my background, for those people that don't know me, is I surprisingly ended up in Hollywood working as a television actress in soap operas, primarily soaps, for many years. And I'm from Western Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh, so we can shout James Malinchak, me, and Shirley Jones. Oh, and Christina Aguilera. That's it. That's came from that song. And strangest thing was, I said when I was very, very small that I was going to be an actress, and somehow or other that ended up happening. And it's just one of those maybe naivete. They just focus so much. But I ended up in California. And I think I was 18 when I started my first national show. That one was actually in New York. And I spent all told 9 years on that. So I really was bi-coastal. I was New York and LA. But I had a place out in LA since like 1994. And even at the height of my following in the soap opera world, because I always played lead characters, so I was very blessed to be busy in an industry where really 3% of the people make 80% of the money. It's not easy to do that. So when people say, my daughter wants to be an actress, I say, what else does she love to do? Let's just see. Because I was fortunate, but it's hard. It's really hard to keep up on top and make a good living at that. And I did. So I'm really grateful, and I had fun. But outside of playing the characters, I was completely falling apart, and I was a mess because I had no idea of self-worth. I had been taught with some bad programming from one of my parents, loved my father to death. So you can do math. And I think a lot of us have that bad programming though, right? We have somebody that gives us some bad information about ourselves, a lie, whether it's that we're stupid, we're ugly, we're not talented, we'll never be anything, or maybe it's something that a bully told you, your ex-husband, your ex-wife, your brother. There's somebody that fed you something crappy, and we own it for way too long. And I definitely did that. And so I had to learn how to even look people in the eye. I couldn't greet my fans. If somebody gave me a microphone at a charity event, I'd fall to pieces.
Oh my gosh.
They would say, just be yourself. And I became an actor so that I could be anybody but me. That was my reason to be on the planet, was I wasn't meant to be born, or so I was told. So, yeah. So that was what allowed me to have value, was to be someone else. So I really had a lot of work to do around that. And that's part of the reason why I teach confidence and I teach the charisma on camera. Charisma is really just extreme confidence, right? It's knowing who you are, how you show up in the world, knowing what your strengths are. And mostly the most charismatic people know what their purpose is.
I love it.
You're in a flow. And so that's what I've always helped people to do. And we have a new branch now called Charismatic Cowgirl, which we'll talk about at some point here, I'm sure.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, but that really is the, that's what kind of drives me to work with people the way I do, is just, I know any level of discomfort when you have to step into a bigger picture. So if you're speaking in public, everybody does that at all different levels. So whether you're getting up at a networking event and talking about your new business, or you're keynoting to a conference of 3,000, whether you're getting in front of a video and doing something like this, or you're getting on television and being interviewed, or you're doing your own vid. There's always things that are going to, no matter how successful, how brilliant you are, there's going to be things that put you out of your comfort zone. And for a lot of people, it's when they have to be seen in a different light like that. So that's where I come in, you know. A lot of performance training I can throw in on top of what I do, but really the foundation of everything I do is help people find out what God already gave them and letting them own that.
So true. And one of the words that you use that really resonated with me is the word seen. And I feel that what happens when people are authentic and clear about who they are at their core, they can be more seen, they can be more visible in their life, and hence even on video, right? Like I remember that was one of the things that really I appreciate about your program and Charisma on Camera, and the confidence that you talk about is really, I feel so in touch with consciousness, because when we're clear of our message, when we're clear of what we're here for, our purpose and our service in the world and how we show up, there's no worry about we're human, right? And we have these judgments, whether it's from, like you said, old programming, or our own judgment of ourselves, whether it's accurate or not. It comes from a place of, I like to think of inauthenticity, in that like monkey brain starts talking and giving us these stories that really aren't true. And they're not, nobody's immune to it. Like we all have it. We all have fear. We all have insecurities. And the beauty of it is when we can tap into areas of our strength and our confidence, like you're talking about, we can then not worry about that stuff, because that stuff is so small compared to the real reason why we're here and why we're doing the work we do. So I really appreciate your work, and you know, again, knowing your background is such a cool part of it, because like you said, for so long, people, you didn't say this, but I know that I've looked up to you for a long time, and we barely know each other, you know? And so people, sometimes I think what happens is with celebrities and people that are actors and actresses, people don't really realize that there's a person behind that personality.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool when you can just be you. And now you're teaching people how to be themselves on and off camera. And I think it's awesome.
It seems really ironic. I was interviewed last week, and the way he posed the question was like the irony of the fact that I was busy being a bunch of other people, and now I teach people how to be themselves. I'm like, yeah, that does sound a little weird, but in reality, my lesson was, you know, it's part of the reasons why people say, do you miss acting? And I don't. It was almost like I needed it then. It was my crutch to get through to the next phase of my life, I guess, right? And I've had opportunities. I've had actually a couple of great roles come to me even since we've been here in Austin. And I had a really good opportunity to audition for one. And I looked at my husband and I said, there's not a cell in my body that wants to do this. And I was like kind of apologizing, because I wasn't going to go for the paycheck, you know? And he just said, he goes, I get it. You know, when you're done, you're done. I said, it doesn't feed me anymore. It was fun. And there's still parts that I look back and I go, you know, I'll see a movie or something like, oh, that'd be so juicy to play that role. But to be in that life, and it doesn't serve me. I would rather serve people, my private clients, my groups, the people that I speak in front of, and see an immediate difference in their life than have another baby named after my character.
Well, you definitely impacted mine, and I
appreciate if there's anyone out there who was named after a soap opera character. I appreciate it completely. But I just feel like there is a bigger calling on my life, and maybe I'm not even clear on what that is yet, but I think I'm moving in the right direction. So I'm just going to keep
moving. Yeah, and even just the little morsels that I've seen in the last couple years, I like how you've, you know, and I know I've said it a couple times, but I like how you're just showing up. And like, even what you just said, sometimes we don't know what we're up to. Like, you know, people ask me sometimes like, well, you're in real estate and you're a yoga teacher. Well, what does that have to do with consciousness? And I'm like, everything, you know, in my eyes, right? Because if I'm not conscious in my life about selling homes and helping people, how am I going to be conscious at home? Or how am I going to be conscious with my friends? Right. And I think, you know, for me, every time that we have an opportunity to serve someone, whether it's through camera or it's through acting or somebody washing dishes, there's always some human spirit and personality behind that. And so I feel for those people that might be watching and anyone that's just tuning in, we're Conscious Conversations series with Reg, and I'm here with Sandra D. Robinson, who is an awesome guest. I'm so happy to have her as part of this. And we're talking about consciousness and what does it mean and authenticity. And no matter where someone is in their life, whether they know their direction or they don't, I feel the most important thing is to be who you are and to be genuine. Yeah. And you'll find it. People will gravitate and they'll tell you what your gifts are. And then one day it'll stay here and you'll realize, oh, that feels really good to do that. I like doing this and I like doing that. And
there was years ago when I had a teacher that said to me, you're going to be a teacher. And there I was, a kid, like afraid to lift my eyes up from my scribble pad, right? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like that would ever happen. And, you know, that's what ended up happening. So yes, sometimes people tell you when you don't own it yet. But I always say that everything that I do, I'm teaching relationship. Even with the horses now, that's what it all is. The foundation of everything I teach is relationship, but it starts with the one you have with yourself. So if you're clear on that and how you're showing up in the world, the next thing you have to get clear on is who do you feel the need to influence? Is it your family? Great. Is it a bigger picture? Who exactly is it? Because I can't work with somebody that comes to me and says, well, I want to help women in transition. Lovely thought. That's every woman. You know what I mean? Like, let's narrow that down a little bit and let's get really clear on who in your heart do you most want to affect? Is it young women? Is it women that have gone through divorce? Is it women that are dating? Is it women that have been through abusive relationships? Like, who really lights your heart? Yeah, you can probably help all of them, but who is it that really gets you lit up? And that'll start getting you into that sort of that direction where you start to get that flow. And that's when things start to come to you, right? That's when doors start to open. And sometimes it can take you a while. I mean, I think I've bumped around a lot with my business in the beginning and did things that appeared to be successful, but I exhausted myself. We talked about the big live events. And I saw my coaches and my mentors doing big live events, you know, and for me, as an introvert, they're exhausting.
You're an introvert, really?
Oh, yeah. I'm an introvert with good coping mechanisms, as my friend says.
Nice.
Yeah, which is why when I talk to people about keynoting and speaking, I'm like, if you're an introvert, don't worry, you can rock this. You just have to learn how to manage your energy. Live events, 3-day live events, going nonstop, surrounded by people, not good for me. So you bump around until you find what it is that's going to be your flow. And as soon as you hit it, though, you'll know. Like the work that I'm doing now with the horses is, it's in conjunction still with Charisma on Camera. It's part of the confidence building program, but it's obviously outside. It's with animals. It's a little different. And the other half of my life, while I was kind of being ignored by mom, I was outside and she was saying these things to me that even as a child, I kind of knew weren't true. But something that I discovered was being outside in nature. My brother was a wildlife biologist, so he started sending me home. He's 18 years older than I am. So I didn't grow up with him, but he started sending books home, like things like Ranger Rick and wildlife magazines for kids, right?
Neat.
And that's what I spent my time on. So it was all about reading the articles, drawing the animals, going outside, watching anthills, watching birds, like trying to communicate with every single living thing that was within reach, whether it was a sheep or a cat, stray cat, neighbor's dog, anything. I tried to communicate with the birds and get them on my finger. Like, I wasn't allowed to have pets growing up. So that was my fascination. And how funny that after all this time and the relationships that I kind of by accident built with the zoological world, I hosted a radio show a few years ago with zoologists and animal behaviorists on wildlife conservation. A lot of people didn't even know that I did that because it was a very specific audience. I loved it. I thought it was great. So if you just keep bumping around and you do the things that feed your heart, I think eventually it's going to come clear. If you would have told me that I could put all of those strange, seemingly disconnected things into one program and give that to people and see their lives change, I wouldn't have been able to see that even 4 years ago. So
I love it.
Yeah, but I think it all starts with knowing who you are, right? You've come a long way as well. So, right? So, yeah. So once you go, oh, okay, this is who I am. And then you remain that unapologetically. And then, you're open to listening to people. That's relationships. So the people with the quality relationships in life usually have an abundance in their life. And when I say abundance, I think you know what I mean. I'm not necessarily talking, if abundance means a ton of money in the bank to you, okay, that can be part of it. That's not everything for me. Abundance for me is waking up and feeling like you have a rich life.
I love it. And it's so true what you're saying, because I think that is such a key term in my paradigm of success, right? It's a lot of people think, well, success is a big house or, lots of money and lots of cars. And that is what I'm finding the more and more I talk to people. More and more people, it's not that they don't want that. It's that they want the relationships. They want the depth and the freedom to be themselves. And that is what defines success. And I think even as I'm talking about, I'm lit up because, the work you're doing, and like you said, everything that's now coming together, it is streamlined and it is working in your highest good of serving the world. And if people don't understand or don't necessarily see where things tie in, it's probably because there's more information available. And I would love for people to have a way to reach you, because it is so valuable what you're doing. And tell us more, if you can, a little bit more about the cowboy or the Cowgirl program, cowboy program. I love it because I'm into horses now, and being in Montana, it's been really fun.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm thinking Montana's a gorgeous place to be too. I've seen pictures, and I definitely want to come out there and ride at some point because it looks phenomenal. And you have a lot of major horse ranches out there. I know that. So it's a stunning place to be. The Charismatic Cowgirl. And then we have a corporate program too that we will work with men, because it's always like, what about men? Like, yeah. That's called horsepowered, because men don't want to be a charismatic cowgirl.
So true.
Yeah. But Charismatic Cowgirl is specifically designed for success-minded women. So see, I got really specific because the women that I was working with all the on-camera and the presentation stuff with Charisma on camera, they were usually successful women, brilliant people that were already somewhat leaders in their community, but they were just stepping into something that made them uncomfortable, and I was there to get them through it and have them shine and spread their message. And this is appealing to the same mindset, but it works a few different ways. We, again, are working on relationships, because when you get into the round pen, it's not riding, it's all dealing one-on-one with horses. And so first thing that you do is a lesson in intuition. Nature will teach you that. But when women get, especially women, when we drive ourselves to the point, especially solopreneurs, CEOs, we can really, A personalities particularly, can push ourselves to the point where we don't say no. We just say yes to everything. So I get women in here that are leading their families, leading their business, leading a charity or a board that they're on in their field. And they come here completely exhausted and wiped out. And yet if somebody were to say, would you help me with a fundraiser tomorrow? They would say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, if I tell them, tap into your intuition, we shut it off. And it's one of the biggest gifts that we as women have. We access that naturally easier than men do. But when we get into that masculine mode of do, go, business all the way, we tend to lose that. So Charismatic Cowgirl kind of brings us back in, starting with intuition. You choose your own horse. So we have a little lesson about that, which horse in the herd is going to be yours. and you go by the gut feeling. And when somebody doesn't follow their gut, it's really funny. The horse will tell me.
Nice.
They'll just quit working.
They will. Is it like a retreat, a workshop, or
it's a workshop? Yeah, what we have going now is, you'll laugh at this, it's literally called Wine and Equine.
Nice. I'm in.
The wine comes after the equine.
Absolutely good. It should. I do wine. We do Vin and Yin, which is like Vin yoga or Vinyasa yoga with wine afterwards. So I get it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love it because when we do the end, we call it a circle up. Everything's in a circle. The round pen's a circle. You know, as we circle up, we have wine and cheese, and we talk about what each of the women went through when they were in the pen, because there's going to be lessons in leadership. I mean, surprising things. I can't tell you, if you were to show up, Regina, what's going to happen, because it's really in the hands of nature. It's what God wants you to know. And I don't know what that is. I facilitate it. I get prompted to ask questions at certain times, and it always works out differently than I could ever anticipate. So I don't try. But I can guarantee that whatever happens is going to be honest, sometimes brutally honest. Horses do not know your story. They don't live in a story. So they read you 100% energetically as you're showing up right now, good or bad. So if you think you're in control and they think you're not, they're going to let you know. So it's been really, really fun. And when we circle around like that, we always make sure that there's a way that we can take those relationship skills, the confidence that they might have developed. And we have women that come in that will discover that maybe, I had one woman say to me, and this surprised me, is I don't know anybody's story when they come in. It's not a therapy session so much, right? It's a equine assisted learning. So it's more of a coaching situation. So they come in for this workshop, and one woman said, I actually found my voice being in there with the horse, because she found a commanding presence that she had not known for so long that was inside of her. And she had a family member that was pretty much bullying her. And then the very next week when I checked in with her, she goes, oh my gosh, whole different situation. She goes, I put my shoulders back. I stood there like I did with the horse. She said, and things are completely different. She goes, I found my voice and I spoke up for myself. And I was like, great. I mean, from family things there to a CEO that realized that she works too hard to manage her people because she was working too hard to get the horse to do something that the horse was already doing. So there are things that show up that I can't anticipate, but it's really a lot of fun. I think did I lose your sound? I lost your sound. What happened? Maybe it'll come back. My sound's all the way up. No, it's not. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, technology at its best.
You're back.
I'm back. Yay, I'm back. So what I was saying was, it sounds like very transformational work that you're doing. And yes. I feel, again, it's such an awesome thread, because you're helping people, like you said, be themselves. And from the CEO who's working too hard. And the truth is I got a phone call today actually from a family member, and it was awesome, because the last couple of days we've had the hurricane in Florida, and so I was concerned. I didn't hear from family for 2 or 3 days, and I was like, I knew they were okay, like faith, just I felt it, and I knew, and I was praying and doing a lot, and thank goodness for social media, because I had people that could get the message to me that they were fine. Right. And I got a call from family, and normally in this situation, I would get all riled up and I'd add to the drama, right, of whatever was going on, whether it's someone stubbed their toe or something major happened. But what I find is the more that we can, even in this kind of work, like the CEO, for example, who is overworked, her people are probably not happy as well.
Right.
She's not happy. She's not getting as much she needs from them. Her business isn't working. Her family life probably isn't working. And so I think it's really interesting how those threads of commonality run through our lives. And if there's one area of our life that's off kilter, so to speak, it's probably showing up in another area. And I think that's really, really valuable, like workshops, retreats. That's why I love energy work. And I actually do it myself. That's, I started on the yoga path, but there's a lot of energy work that goes into that, and doing emotional freedom technique and in Reiki and all these things that I do with my students and with clients to help them, because I even do it with my real estate clients sometimes and they don't know. Like I send them energy, because this is the kind of stuff, like the work you're doing is what's shifting people's mindset of who they are, which is then allowing them to be different in the world and more powerful and more confident. So I'm so glad to see that you're doing what you do, and I love watching you evolve, and it's helping me because, you know, you teach me all the time, and I am so grateful to have you as part of this series, because it's just fun. It's fun to get to know you, and you know, now that we have the horse connection, like I'm sure that I'm years behind you as far as training with that stuff, but I'm excited to join in and learn from you.
It'd be great for you to join in. Either there's a Facebook group that we're on quite a bit. So it's Charismatic Cowgirl on Facebook. Just ask to join and awesome. Join. And then charismaticcowgirl.com is also another place where you can go. And we're going to have anybody that signs up for that now, they'll just get advance notice of live events, it says. But anybody that signs up on that will also get, there's an ebook that we're working on, an interactive one with video included. So that's going to be given away, and we'll be able to do that. And we are looking, because I realize not everybody can come and work with the horses, right? But even for yourself, you may not be able to come here, but especially if you're going to be working with horses, I would love to be able to have you just understand some of the concepts of how nature works and how the horses show us how that's set up, and then how it actually applies to the way we see ourselves and how we interact as well. So whether it's the simple idea of pressure and release, and that's how we train horses. You teach a horse to go to the left by giving pressure with your right leg so it moves away. And we talked about that last week on the Facebook group, and we think, well, what does that have to do with the human? Where do we ever have that? If you just everywhere. Our day, all day long, is pressure and release, right? Are we putting enough pressure? Or like the CEO that exhausted herself by running after the horse that was already running, does she not know how to relieve that or release that pressure? Is she just putting too much out there? So it's interesting, and that's what exhausts her. So it's those kind of things. We'll see parallels all the time.
Yeah.
Did my husband just walk through with no clothes on? I hope not.
No, he had clothes on.
Okay. I know the camera. Yeah, because I know he has to get a shower. I'm like, oh, God forbid that just happened.
That's awesome. Well, and I know that you have a horse, I believe, that's being delivered. So I would love to honor your time. And again, thank you so much, Sandra, for your time today and your energy and your love. And I'm so glad that I'm still a thread in your life, because after all these years, you know, I know we don't connect often, but when we do, it's always fun. And again, the power of technology, like I get your emails and I respond, and it's been cool that even just those threads of connection, like you said, building relationships and maintaining those connections, that's your life's work. And I can say mine too. So I value you and our friendship and relationship, and I look forward to studying more with you. And
well, thank you. Yes, he has clothes on, thank goodness. Yeah. Well, thank you. And you're doing such a great job with this interview series. I've just been listening to several of them, all of them I can, and you're doing a great job. You know, it's a great topic to have everybody talking about, just being conscious and making the world a better place. So keep going.
Thanks, Sandra. Thank you. I'm going to put your link on the video link here. So if anyone has questions or wants to reach Sandra to learn more about the Charismatic Cowgirl or any program she's doing, please feel free to reach out, or if you want to reach me, and I'm happy to share her information as well. So have an awesome day, everyone. Thanks again, Sandra, and I look forward to connecting soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.